Hi there, I'm Rod Bergeron, and welcome back to another quick and easy watercolor painting. Today we're working on this little bit of a fall scene, and I'm going to start by just putting in some trees with a few branches, not a whole lot of branches, and we're going to make some trees that are going to be a little bit thinner and some that are just going to be a little bit longer. You see I'm picking up some of this. I don't want this to be quite that intense, so I'm just taking some of that paint from here and putting it over here. Your first pass through here, putting these trees in, should be fairly light. Okay, I'm going to set this brush down because it's a little bit too big for what it is that I want to do now. So I'm going to take this, which is a #1 watercolor brush. I'm just going to wet it. I'm going to pick up a little bit of this. Payne's gray, and just a little bit on the brush. We're going to put a few smaller trees in the background here. I'm going to put a few smaller, like grass or something across here, and I'm just flicking with the brush, so I'm just picking up the paint wherever it is available on the page, and I'm just using my wrist and flicking and making a couple of marks to guide where it is that we're going. So this is going to be very, very light, and so is this down here on the ground. And so what we're going to do right now is we're just going to pick up this brush again, and we're going to grab some of this yellow right here, and we're just going to go through a few places and touch the page very quickly, like this. We're not spending a whole lot of time on this, and just a few marks here and there to indicate where some foliage on the ground might be. Now you can do the same thing up here, just again with the yellow. Pick it up however intense it is that you want it to be, and a few marks to indicate where some foliage might be, like that. That's not too bad. And I'm going to take this same yellow that I'm using, and I'm going to add a little bit of green to it. So we're going to put a little bit of green pigment into this, add a little bit more water to that, and just going to touch the white of the page now. So now I'm looking for wherever the page might be white, and I'm going to just put in a few. So I'm stippling, I'm touching the page very quickly, and I'm moving from one area to the next. Okay, I'm going to go back across the top here. I'm going to do the same thing, add in a few areas. Now, most of that painting that we painted with Payne's gray is dry now. So this is fall, so there's not a lot of green available, but there is still some. And I mean available, I mean there's not a lot of green in any of the foliage, but there is some. Okay, like that. I'll put a little bit more green in here, like that. Okay, that's coming along, fairly nicely. I kind of like what's happening there. So I'm going to rinse my brush off again. Now, I think we should probably let this completely dry before we put the next color on there. Okay, so I put my hair dryer on there for, a few minutes, and was able to dry that up pretty quickly, pretty nicely. So again, right now I'm looking for the white space on the page, and I'm using some sienna. I'm going to look for some white space, and I'm going to touch it with a good variation of size and shape of dots. And I find it really is helpful to me. The other thing I always encourage everybody who watches me, think of everything as an experiment. If it turns out, great. If it doesn't turn out, really consider what is it that I learned from this. So you can see this is real, to me, this is really starting to look like fall. I really like the idea of all of the different dots. So we have this very open area right here that's starting to look a lot like, there's sunlight kind of coming through there, and that's really interesting to me. So I'm going to keep going. I'm using some yellow ochre now, and you can see I'm trying to vary the size and the shape of each mark. I think the one thing that I'm going to do now is I'm going to pick up a little bit of this red. So this is sort of this is sienna mixed with a little bit of red. Might make that a little bit more intense, something like that. And I'm going to be very, very selective about how much of this I put in, because it will start to dominate immediately. And you can see how you start putting that on there and it starts to dominate all those other colors. But hopefully it's going to mix in with some of those other colors. And I'm going to put a little bit over here on this side. And again, I'm just going to make a selection of a very few areas of white space that I want to touch. Okay, and we're just going to let that build up on there. We're going to take a little bit of this. We're also going to go for a few spots on the ground here. Again, looking for our white space and just touching a few areas. We're trying to make it look like some of the leaves from the tree are on the ground. So there's red leaves. There has to be red leaves on the tree. There probably should be some of them on the ground. That's not too bad. That's coming out pretty good, actually. I think what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to get a little bit of Payne's gray here, a little bit, and not much. And I'm just going to make the idea of maybe some shadows coming off a few of these trees, just like that. Maybe a few shadows coming off these trees too. Darken it up a little bit with a little bit more Payne's gray there. Something like that. All right, let's let this dry and see what happens. Okay, let's have a look at this. Look at how painting these little trees in the background here and making them that very light Payne's gray has pushed those way back into the background. And having the dark trees here with the shadows coming down across the front has pushed those way into the foreground. The addition of our little bit of red across there has really punched up the green, so you get the good complement between the red and the green. And down here, the same thing is going on, the complement between this red and this green. None of it's super, super bright, super, super brilliant, but still making a pretty good impact for us. All right, so looking at putting the mat on here, you can see you can push this up a little bit and get a little bit more of the trees like that. Yeah, that's working out pretty good for us. Yeah, I'd love to know what you think of it. Let me know in the comments section. And I'd love to see your work. If you want to send me a photo of your work, I'd love to see it. I'll put my email address across the bottom of the screen here. So if you're currently a subscriber, thank you very much. And if you're not currently a subscriber, please consider subscribing to my channel. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you again next time.